Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited but extremely nervous to be here today. My name is Eliza Svikulis. I'm a letterer, illustrator, graphic designer from Melbourne. You're going to hear a lot about me in the next 37 minutes and 50 seconds. I've never been one to hold cards close to my chest, I'm really honest. But I don't know anything about you guys, and I've tried to cram in a bunch of things so it will apply to everyone. But I've got no idea who's sitting in the crowd. So I'm just going to do a little exercise quickly, and hopefully for the benefit of the other speakers as well, to get to know who you are. So, hands up if you're a student. Cool. Hands up if you're from Queensland. Wow. Thanks for having us. What about if you're from Melbourne? Oh, hey, Melbourne people. What about a creative professional of any kind? Wow, okay, cool, pretty even. Okay, and most importantly, hands up if you're not a morning person. Look, I understand you. I appreciate your sacrifice. I am one of you too. Okay. So those of you who know me well, which might not be a lot of you, will also know that I absolutely hold the title for International Rambling Champion. So I've built in a few strategies within my talk to try to keep me on track. I'm super passionate about creativity, and I'm an absolute overthinker, and I've had 8 months to think about what to put in a 40-minute talk. So I've had to chop things up, and I've had to find a way to build in some dance. I don't know if you guys saw my synopsis, but I promised dance. I don't know what I was thinking. So I've created resource slides so that you can get something from that, which I've built in as time markers to keep me on track. And when these pop up on screen, you'll have about 5 seconds, or however long I dance for, to take a photo of the resource, because I won't be talking about it. Okay, so I'll get my promised dancing out of the way. Let's practice. Here are all the things that I listen to. Get your phone out, take a photo. Oh, thank you. Whew. All right, let's start the story. So here's my obligatory childhood photo of me drawing. That's a requirement for all conference speaking. Like a lot of artists I've had the privilege of listening to over the years, my fascination with art started really early. Here I am in 1995, as you can tell by the fashion, aged 7, crafting my very first logo. And don't worry, I was as curious as you are to find out what was on the other side of that page. So I asked my grandmother to track down the film and see if we had a photo of what I was drawing, and we did. Here it is. I'm also available for professional retouching if anybody needs me. But jokes aside, I have always been a handwriting and alphabet nerd. This is no doubt the only place on earth that I can proudly proclaim that while my sisters were outside rollerblading like normal 90s kids, I spent my school holidays inside attempting to write out the dictionary. I only got to B, by the way. Yeah. I spent a week in grade 1 attempting to throw myself off the playground backwards in hopes of breaking my arm so I could have a cast that I could decorate. Didn't work, thankfully. And I personalised everything that I could get my hands on, even when it just meant crossing out the Beth on pre-bought items that didn't have quite my name on it. I would watch the opening titles of Sound of Music and Willy Wonka on repeat. Maybe one of those had more to do with a montage of chocolate. And a book I had that was called The Coles Funny Picture Book was my absolute most prized possession. And I think even now, those of you who know my work will see those influences still coming through now. Now, while I'm talking artistic childhood, shout out to Neil Buchanan, who taught me everything I knew on Art Attack. In my early teens, I kept an exercise book where I would copy my favourite logos and craft little lettering pieces, usually from my innermost, darkest teenage angst. So this is really fucking boring. somehow, as I prepared for university, I took the wrong path, striving to be an academic, enrolled in a heavily theoretical course at Melbourne University, and I totally lost my way. Things are about to get a bit dark in this section, so I'm going to bring in a friend. Over the next 6 years, while glazing over in lectures that didn't interest me, I racked up $30,000 worth of tuition debt. I continued to scribble bits of lettering and books as a way to vent my depression, but I thought the days of sign painting and custom lettering were over, and I didn't see an avenue to take my little hobby any further. Now, in all the daytime television I watched during that period, while avoiding writing assignments on radicalism in the postmodern era, I frequently heard old maid Oprah talk about reaching rock bottom. Totally directionless, I deferred from my course and I took up waitressing, where I practiced writing out specials boards between wiping tables. The gig didn't pay too well, so I picked up odd jobs and avoided facing up to making any decision about my future. So it was around 2010, during one of these odd jobs, dancing through Bourke Street Mall in the Maya Christmas Parade for the Casey Chambers float, that I finally had a moment of clarity, as Oprah would call it. That's me. Maybe it was the fact that it was 37 degrees that day, and therefore 50 degrees inside my polystyrene head, or the fact that the spectator kids in the crowd were literally punching me while I was down, that I finally thought, what am I doing here? How did I get here? So at 23, I withdrew from that course and decided to give this graphic design thing a try. And within a couple of classes, I had found my place. I explained to one of my teachers there, who has proudly come to watch me today, hey Al, wherever you are, that I just wanted to make art out of letters. So he showed me the work of Jessica Hish and explained that I was just in time for the lettering resurgence boom, and I got to work. But before we get to that, here are all the books on my studio shelves. You know what to do. It's supposed to make me less nervous. This is not working. So now I'm 4 years out of school, and I've freelanced the whole time. Not a plan, just worked out that way. I've worked my butt off and I've grown, but I've grown mostly through referrals from past clients and Instagram inquiries. And because I refuse to narrow down my focus, and I'm always restless with one or the other, my work ranges from totally handmade to totally computer-made, and consists of invites, calligraphy, live lettering, cards, signs and murals. All of these I've painted myself, except for this Bonds 100, which Apparition Media painted, but I designed. Branding and graphic design. And now more and more commercial illustration or advertising campaign projects as well, unfortunately a lot of which I'm unable to show. So I've picked out 2 projects to look at a little closer that Typism previewed in our lead-up, just mostly for the level of detail I experimented with. So this one was a collaboration with Amy of St Gertrude, who was my work experience teacher when I was at graphic design school, and my girl gang, the Letterettes, who I'll talk about a little bit more shortly. And it was one of 4 Queen cards showing off a different service of Amy's letterpress company to show her off in promo. So my task was to give her a design that challenged and showed off her ability to achieve perfect registration. And the purple colour that you see here in the design is created in overprint of the 2 plates lining up absolutely perfectly. So there's only a red and a blue, and then they come together to make the purple. So I think, as you can see in the design, I definitely challenged her. It nearly broke us both, to be honest. The shape made up of the circle with the little lines in it as well is the symbol for print registration, so I weaved that into the design as much as I could, just as a little thing to find. And every dot that you see that I've, in my stippling technique, is hand-drawn using a Wacom tablet in Illustrator. So it took about 2 months and several Illustrator crashes. This one is another dotty piece I love to share. It was for an exhibit of the alphabet put together by my mate Nathan Nankervis. I was so pleased when he dealt me H because of the symmetry. It's I really love a H. It's the only place I can say that. And I knew I could go nuts with the big curves. While drawing that large bottom curve that you're seeing here, I realised that in my original pencil sketch, I just kept going more round and round and round, and I realised it looked like to me, it looked like a jawbreaker. Maybe I was hungry. A jawbreaker lolly, which may be also the Willy Wonka influence coming in again. So from that inspiration, I took that kind of literally, and then so for the front face, that is the white face, I treated that as the hard shell, and then the shadow is made up of the inner layers of candy. So, enough of pretty pictures. Must look like I'm living the dream. And I am living the dream to both extremes. So you see, like many of us, I live most of my art life on Instagram, and I have to present an image that is attractive to potential clients. But I'm here to give you the Tracy Grimshaw A Current Affair exclusive on the true roller coaster of the ups and downs that is #freelance life. So this is my space that I rent at Nuff Nuff Studio in Collingwood, complete with my victim couch, as my studio mates call it, because I lure them in and talk to them for hours about their inspiration. I don't have time to talk about it in detail, but just let me say, if you're considering freelancing and you're not sure about the expense of having a shared space, I cannot praise it highly enough. It's been absolutely the most beneficial thing to me professionally, and it does wonders for your mental health to maintain interaction with other humans, and especially when they're having a similar rollercoaster life. I mean, look how much I enjoy it. This is the photo I show clients, obviously, but I'm going to get real with you guys. When the deadlines pile up and I can't see a way out, and sometimes I don't even get to the studio, I find myself in the depths of an all-nighter panic a couple of nights ago from my ad hoc home space. Shout out to Jess Krukey as well, by the way, because she gave me the idea to show the truth behind my practice. How good's my ironing board desk, though? It's the only, honestly, life hack. It's the only thing that you can fit a drawing tablet and a laptop on at the same time. You just got to make sure that you don't accidentally hit the lever with your knee and then watch all your tech come down. It has happened, I swear. Now, this isn't a huge down, but I often find in freelance life there's far too much of this. Often, Adobe Illustrator even describes my day better than I can. Does everybody have that happen? These are my people, right? When you're working it perfectly and it just goes bing. And more often than I'm happy to, sometimes my work isn't appreciated by everyone. And that's all right. I think it was school holidays. It's okay. It just Fitzroy Gardens. And more often than I'm happy to admit, I am so overcome by the pressure of the constant workload and the freedom to be my own boss that my day ends up looking like this. Everyone gets sucked into the internet vortex, right? You don't know how it happened. Okay, but with the downs, there's also days where I feel supremely lucky. Who else can sit at their desk after hours with a tiger-printed face mask on? Thanks, Vanessa, great present. Or spend the day watching Disney's Frozen in research for an illustration job while smashing iced Vovos on my studio couch. As much as I love a good whinge, and I do love a good whinge, I really do feel incredibly privileged to do what I do, and I often have moments where I suddenly stop in disbelief and remember someone wants to pay me to draw. So in late 2015, I was part of a growing trend of live lettering where stores and shopping centres would hire calligraphers and artists to create on-the-spot gift tags for cards for customers. By this stage, I was part of a thriving Instagram community, and I could see a bunch of other artists that I'd admired doing the same thing. And I would often find myself on shift with them. Unbeknownst to us, we'd all been hired separately and were charging significantly different rates for the same work. It was during one of these gigs with my pals Carla, Winissa and Kate, now known as the Letterettes, that I had an epiphany. I could see a gap in the market for an official group that specialised in on-the-spot lettering services and an opportunity to join forces in a girl gang with some of Melbourne's best lettering talent. By the end of the shift, We had come up with our name, talked everything from rates to outfits, and soon after we had branded ourselves a mix of pink ladies and Super Mario Brothers, ready to take on the live lettering world together. Now, one thing I've learnt about starting a little biz is how fast things can morph and change into something that you never dreamed that they would. We thought it was going to be just an on-the-spot gift tag service where we hired out girls, but early on in our formation, the Jackie Winter group came on board and they wanted to represent us commercially, and they had ideas about expanding our offering into advertising campaigns. So within the first few months, we suddenly found ourselves on conference calls with dream clients like Disney, Nespresso and Nike, and also featured in our favourite design magazines and blogs. Supporting female talent we admired in joining forces felt good, and it has been so great to see how much that has resonated with the industry as well. So it's been a total whirlwind ever since, trying to juggle our group while maintaining our solo careers on the side and supporting each other. And I've grown so much as a person having these girls to share the daily emotional struggles and imposter syndrome us self-employed women go through. Am I right? Thanks, guys. And they're here today supporting me as well, so thanks, Ets, means a lot. So this year I decided working 6.5 days a week wasn't busy enough. So I created another little biz. Back at ya, custom patches. Funnily enough, my patches started as a protest against the tacky hens sashes available in preparation for my sister's wedding. I made the bridal party matching PJs with handmade bride and bridesmaid patches on. And also noticing at the same time that there was a current trend in denim jacket embroidery and customisation. I thought, hey, there's more in this. So I started making them for artistic friends and finally established a brand. I now hand draw, hand cut and hand assemble custom creations for people who really care to have something different. And I'm out there in the foyer if anyone wants to visit me. And it wouldn't be a variety hour that I've promised without a giveaway. Woo! You get a candle, you get a candle, everybody gets a candle. Okay. There's no candles. But early this morning, I ran in and I hid a voucher under one lucky person's seat. So everybody feel under your seats. Enjoy the chewing gum that you're going to get in your hand. So one of you has won the opportunity to have a custom patch made from scratch. Yay! Now, I know I've got a couple of people in the audience that are going to cringe at this, but patch me outside, how about that? Also, while I'm here, vote yes. Ooh, I've got to speed up. Okay. So I've been to a lot of conferences over the years, usually as a student, and while I learnt a lot, the one thing that I always walked out asking was, great, that was inspiring, but what do I charge? Now, while I would love to give you a definitive guide of what the industry standard is for each kind of job, or an hourly rate, unfortunately I can't. I still don't really know, and there are too many variables within each job. But what I can do is share my experiences with money so far. So, confession time. This is the first logo I created in my freelance career. I charged $150. Worked out in the end to be approximately $10 an hour, with unlimited licensing and no fee for that. My thinking was, as I think a lot of students would be, the client asked for a price over the phone and I had to pluck it from nowhere. This was my first job out of school and I don't want to lose it. It's a startup brand, she probably doesn't have any money. It sounds like it will suit my style and it'll be fun. And she just needs something to put on a swing tag after all. It didn't take me long to work out how badly I'd undercharged and to start to get a better feel for the industry. It's so hard when we are selling ourselves, right? Sometimes being an artist comes with a sensitive temperament and crippling self-doubt, and I think that generally cancels you out for the dual ability to sell yourself and fight for your worth sometimes. So I've found that I have to block out these emotions and play a character in order to raise my prices to a fair standard. And because I'm so honest to a fault, I have to do 99% of my client communication through email for fear of undoing my steely car salesman attitude on the phone. It's still not easy negotiating, but it's the only way to fight for legitimacy and actually make a living out of what you want to do. When I first entered the industry, I charged $35 per hour. I'd come from waitressing, which was $17.05, so I thought doubling it was more than fair. I scraped by with only $18,000 in the first year, working almost 7 days a week, and I had no idea how to grow. So luckily for me, with experience came more knowledge about the industry and standards as a whole, and I now charge for licensing, material, travel, a rush fee if necessary. I stipulate all terms before I begin with, and I take a 50% deposit. I generally charge around $100 an hour, and to be totally honest, I still don't know how that compares to other artists. Someone tell me if I'm still undercharging. But I hope it inspires more transparency in our industry in general, so that students coming up the ranks in freelance don't make the same mistakes that I did. So, when it was time to quote the same client a year later, I was armed with experience and my car salesman attitude and thought about it this way instead. I had the time to estimate the hours and come up with a formal brief, timeline and presentation and quote. The client wanted 2 versions, the monogram and the full version, so basically 2 logos. I had a better understanding of the client's business and the branding's reach. I knew the amount of work involved would have me crouched in the fetal position at some stage. I had sold the client the idea of 1800s Emporium feel, and I knew that I was only one of a few people in the Collingwood community that could pull that off in a custom way. So I charged $3,800. And that was followed by the most terrifying professional phone call of my life, as understandably the client was really shocked in my price jump. But I held on to that false confidence and I was paid fairly. Now, 3 years later, I'm no millionaire, but I'm no longer undercutting the industry or selling myself short. And while I'm on tips about money, I just want to share 2 other tips that have really helped me in freelancing. So one is that I've had 2 regular clients the whole time that I've been freelancing. So one was the Fitzroy Gardens chalkboard that you saw earlier, and the other one is Big Dreams, the children's store where I do their graphic design. And that has helped immensely in giving me like a regular income so that I don't panic and like the potential clients don't smell my desperation for a job. And it's less and less work as I grow, but it has really helped for peace of mind, because I still sometimes think, am I going to be a waitress next year? And the other thing, is because cash flow can be such an absolute gymnastics cash flow roller coaster, I keep $3,000 in my account as a buffer, because I think especially bigger clients will often pay between 60 and 90-day terms, and you're often waiting for to be paid. So yeah, I keep $3,000 in my account as my zero for those times when cash flow isn't coming in. Okay, that got a bit serious, so here's all the tools I use. One thing I'm really passionate about, as all my victim couch visitors know, is artistic inspiration and where it comes from and how it relates to your signature style. I have often noticed trends within the Instagram lettering scene, and time again, I see bits of work that I think cross over from inspired by a current artist to imitating a current artist. I'm so puffed out. I think we have a responsibility to look at our own work critically and examine where our ideas have come from. I'm not knocking Instagram, and I don't want to scare you out of creating art. It's still the only way that I promote my work. Website's coming soon, I swear. But I think it's a dangerous place when you're searching for an idea with a blank canvas in front of you. Only since I've worked for 4 years straight, churning out piece after piece, have I noticed common themes within my own work, in my case mostly stemming from childhood influences, and I encourage you to search for yours. After all, it is really hard out here in the arts. You've chosen this path, so if we're going to struggle making a living and legitimising our craft, trying to express ourselves, and we end up doing that using somebody else's artistic voice or a combination of others, what is the point? Naturally, style evolves over time, but I do find there are choices I make instinctively, and I have taken the time to examine what inspired them. So here's a bit of a mood board of my style and traits and main influences. I am most influenced by 70s oranges and browns, vintage colour schemes, anything with a bit of mud in it, not too bright, excessive detail, which shouldn't surprise you now knowing my personality, folk patterns and colours from my Latvian heritage, romance, Willy Wonka and circus anything, high school team culture, 90s pop culture, ye old nostalgic ribbons and embellishment, and an overall dad joke tone of voice. Good for you, Eliza. But how do I figure out my unique style, you ask? I've got the answer for you. Introducing Inspiration Investigation with 4 small payments of $49.95. So soon to be released through Typism Summit is my own video subscription workshop entirely dedicated to helping you figure out your signature style through a range of activities. So look out for that if that's something that you struggle with. And before that's released, I've got something else to aid you on the path of style discovery. Sometimes all you need for inspiration is a few words to prompt you, and this is what has inspired Brief Brief. Each one of you will find a unique handwritten brief in your goodie bag today. I hope you all enjoy creating a lettering piece based on the different prompts that I've given you, and I look forward to seeing what you create through the hashtag #BriefBrief. Ooh, maraca time. Here's a short list of the artists I love. Take a photo. I am so pleased to be amongst a thriving community of creatives who inspire me in their endeavours and collectively nerd out on the same things that I do. That said, it sometimes does get overwhelming in an oversaturated marketplace, and with everyone living their seemingly perfect lives on Instagram. So on that note, I just wanted to share one little pep talk that's helped me along. I'm sorry if it gets a bit corny. Focus on the work, not the followers. Instagram is an amazing place to share your work and feel part of a community, but it also dictates a comparison system based on outside validation and sometimes fake validation. I've always been in this game as just the weirdo obsessed with the alphabet, but especially since the new Instagram algorithms, I feel like I'm forever swimming against the competition current that the app perpetuates. Be proud to see others succeeding and champion them. Set your own goals and be self-motivated. Share your knowledge. Always strive to find your own unique artistic expression. And remember why you got into this in the first place. A lot of us well before Instagram was invented. So lastly, I'd like to tell you a story. I just need to have some water first before I die. While in my second year of graphic design at TAFE, go TAFE, by the way, I got an unexpected phone call from the brand manager at House, Australia's leading homewares retailer. She had noticed one of those chalk specials boards I was talking about earlier at a friend's cafe and thought my lettering would look great printed on mugs to be distributed around the country. Now keep in mind, at this point I'm internally freaking out. I still barely knew how to use a pen tool in Illustrator by this point. Where were you, Dave? I had no folio to speak of. And she wanted me to come down to their St Kilda Road Business District head office for a meeting the next day with examples of my work. She assumed I was a professional out in the industry, while in reality I was still snowed under with assignments, and I had no clue that I was already forging a freelance career. I was totally unaware of what I was about to agree to, unaware if I had the technical knowledge to pull it off, and feeling totally unworthy of this chance opportunity in general. So I said yes. I borrowed my boyfriend's iPad, threw together all the photos I had that didn't have the Valencia filter on them. Instagram photo standards weren't as high back then, and totally bluffed my way through the interview. Now, the point of the story is not the work I did. I am not showing it. It was horrendous. Dominic's got them. She'll show you one day. The point is... and ultimately the result of the fast-paced retail world, they ended up in the clearance bins out the front, which is a really nice bringing me back to earth. But all the way up in Queensland, Dominique noticed them. She bought the whole set, kept up with my work, and now here I am today. So finally, to finish, I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Dominique, and for supporting upcoming lettering talent, and particularly female lettering talent. I never thought I'd beat the feeling of winning Saturday Disney's Letter of the Week colouring competition prize pack in 1999. This is close. I sat in the audience like many of you guys 2 years ago, down there supporting Carla, aspiring to be up on this stage one day too. and I can say it has been absolutely terrifying. But I'm so incredibly honoured to be inducted into the Typism crew and to stand along such industry talent who I've admired for so long. Nick Masani, oh my God. I have still got a lot to explore and a long way to go, but I wouldn't have gotten here, without the help of all the names on the screen, and I'm sure many that I've forgotten. If you have given me a shout out, you've championed my work, sent me a job, shared a sign painting tip, thanks Brett, or an Illustrator hack, or God forbid, listened to every single neurotic thought inside my head since January. Ellen, Luca, Ellie, I'm looking at you. It has not gone unnoticed. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I can't wait to meet you all at the after party.